You want me to mute?
Yeah,
I'm
you
trying
can
to
go
remember.
ahead and mute. Yeah, if you can mute, that'd be great.
Okay,
And
I'm gonna mute it now.
yeah,
Nope, it's not muted. Is that
I can
muted?
mute you if I need to.
Oh, no, no.
There you go. Okay, so my name's Brittany, for those of you who may not know me, and I direct our Classical Conversations community group in Douglasville at Praise Mill Baptist Church on Tuesdays. And so we're just going to go through what homeschool looks like and what classical education looks like and what is Classical Conversations that we've been talking about. So I'm going to share my screen so that we can look at our online catalog together. And I think that'll give us a really great picture and understanding of really what Classical Conversations is. Okay, so can everybody see that? Okay, great. Okay, so homeschooling is definitely an adventure. It takes a lot, but you know, we believe that we're called to homeschool and God gave us our children to be there for them. And so it's an adventure. It could be a challenging one most days, and some days it is just a brilliant adventure where you feel so accomplished and you feel so encouraged and you're loving life. And so it can kind of, the pendulum can swing both ways, but it definitely is an adventure. Whoops, there we go. And so why should I consider homeschooling? At CC, which is Classical Conversations, we believe the purpose of education is to know God and to make him known. And for me, this was one of the big reasons why our family joined CC. I felt just a very heavy burden to be the person to invest and pour into my children, and not only academically, but spiritually. And when my friend mentioned Classical Conversations to me and I was checking it out, I just really felt like this was going to be the best for our family, to where I can give them an education that will point to Jesus and point to God. And that way we all can know why we love him and why we choose him, and we can help other people see that for them as well. So here it says, God has hidden his truth and beauty in every subject. It is our pleasure as students and teachers to discover him as we learn. Our studies should prepare us to reason clearly, speak eloquently, calculate accurately, and write persuasively, so that we have the ability to know God and to make him known. And so that's really our mission with CC, is to know God and to make him known. So every one of our subjects that we study is going to point to God, and actually God points back to each subject because he created all things. Okay, let's see. I think it is frozen. Oh, okay. Whoa, went way ahead, sorry. Okay. Am I capable of educating my child or my children? I know this was a huge setback for me, an obstacle for me when I first felt the call to homeschool. I did not think I was adequate or trained or smart enough to homeschool my kids. But we believe that God trusts parents with their children, and so should we. So with that in mind, if you're feeling the tug to homeschool, we truly believe that you can, and you will, and that you are capable, and especially with a community around you to help you and lock arms with you, it can be possible. Okay, am I the best educator for my child? We believe it is the responsibility of the family, with support from fellow believers, to educate our children. And I definitely think this is true. I mean, I've got a lot of weaknesses, but we know in scripture, God says that through our weakness, he is made strong. And with other people, you know, a network of family and friends that help support us, you know, we can fill in those gaps where we might not feel as strong in a certain subject or in a certain, you know, grade level. We can pull on those resources that we have together to really give our children the very best education. We also offer parent practicums, which is a parent homeschool conference. This year we did them online, and so that's something that we can share with you as well. Okay, Classical Conversations. Why should you join Classical Conversations? We believe the support of community enhances our ability to fulfill parental duties. The classical education community, along with our church and our neighbors and our extended family, remains close to our family's interests and well-being. We need their example and encouragement to help us enjoy our responsibilities as parents. And I think we can all relate to this when it comes to finding a church home. When you are involved in a community of like-minded believers, you have that safety net. You know, you're able to rely on people. You're able to feel that sense of community and family with people who aren't your physical family. And I think it's so important to have that support of community. And also for me, I wanted to join a community because I needed that accountability and that structure to help keep me on track and help keep me on pace and kind of help keep me motivated and hopeful as a new homeschool mom. You get to be in community with some of the most amazing seasoned mothers and fathers who educate their children. And it's just a joy to be able to lock arms with them. And then soon you will be helping other people. Okay, my screen looks like it's frozen up again, so I'm just gonna wait a second. There we go. Can Classical Conversations meet my family's unique circumstances? We're all different, right? We all have different needs for our families, different family dynamics. And we believe that the accountability of community both sharpens and humbles its members. You know, we're all in this together. And so it's not a specific type of family or students that CC is looking to help. It is everybody, because we truly believe that we're all better together. You know, we can all bring strengths to a community and we can all help one another. And so that's one of the things I absolutely love about it, is to see the kids in class together. They're normally grouped by age, and normally that's like a couple year span in one class. So you might have, for example, preschool and kindergarten together, or an overlap of kindergarten and first grade together in a class. And to see the way that they encourage one another, support one another, and help one another is really the way the Bible teaches us to help and love and support one another. You know, it's not, as I experienced in school, it's not, oh, you know, she doesn't know the answer to that question, or I can't believe he doesn't know that, or why isn't he saying anything? You know, it's really like, come on, you can do this. Do you need help? I can help you. You know, really cheering them on and helping them feel confident enough to move forward. And so that's one thing that I really love about Classical Conversations as well. The next slide, if it comes around, there we go. How can I give my children a better education than I received? We believe classical education embodies the most natural tools of learning. We hide God's word in our heart, align our thoughts to God's, and share the love of Christ with our neighbor. He has perfectly equipped each one of us to obey him. Words, thoughts, and actions are analogous, whatever, to the classical arts of grammar, dialectic, and rhetoric. And as you can see, I, you know, am not perfect and I'm not the smartest, you know. So, but with the tools that we get through Classical Conversations, with the classical method of homeschooling and education, we are able to be the lead learner in our family, to lead our children into a love of learning and to learn how to learn. That way throughout life, they can overcome challenges, they can learn new skills, they can really be a step above any field that they go into, you know, throughout school, throughout their school career, throughout college, and throughout a job and whatever challenges they may face. They'll know how to overcome them because they'll know how to learn something new. So I really love that. And it's really honestly helped me redeem my own education, helped me redeem, you know, how to learn things and pick up new skills myself, and to really show my kids that, you know, mom and dad has to learn new things too. It's not like you graduate and you never have to learn anything new again. And so that's a great example to set for them. How can I give my children a truly Christian education? We believe truth is required to inculcate wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. I am the way, the truth, and the life our Lord Jesus taught of himself. Parents must pray unceasingly for the grace and mercy needed to better reflect the image of God, while demonstrating how to love God with their whole body, mind, and soul. And I think, you know, us as believers in Jesus can attest to this truth, and it's what we believe. So it's what we can then emulate, and we can help show and lead our children in a truly Christian education. And so on this next, on this right side of the screen, it talks about grammar, dialectic, and rhetoric. And these are the three foundational tools of classical education and classical homeschooling, which we'll talk about in just a second. And it just gives you there an example of that through scripture. So in the grammar stage, which would be memorizing and reciting things, which are really children from 4 years old up to 6th grade, it's what they love to do. You know, our children will watch a movie 100 times in a row and never tire or weary of that movie, you know, or they'll do the exact same, you know, motion over and over again. They just love memorizing and reciting. They don't get tired of it. And so classical education really tends to those natural abilities that our children have at different stages in life. And so from 4 years old to about 6th grade, our brains are wired to memorize and recite. And so in the grammar stage, this memorizing and reciting stage, an example would be to memorize the scripture here. And this past year in our CC community, we memorized Genesis 1, verses 1 through 27. And we had 12 people in our community memorize the entire passage verbatim and was able to recite it. And so we were so excited for those 12 students who memorized that throughout the year. And we did it by a song and by hand motions. So it made it really easy. And I actually memorized probably 20, almost all of it, maybe 25 verses. And so it's really, you can see it happening and clicking in their heads, memorizing and reciting. And then the dialectic stage is more thinking and questioning. And that's really like 4th grade through 9th grade. It's where they really start clicking and connecting things in their head and asking why. Well, why? You know, why is that? Why is this? And it's really helping them gain that understanding. And we all know as preteens and teenagers, you start to question, well, I don't understand why I have to do this. You know, this doesn't make sense to me, and kind of argue a little bit. And so this is that stage of dialectic where you're going to ask a lot of questions. And then the final stage is rhetoric. And this is where you can basically teach someone else how to do something. It's poetic and persuasive expression. You can write papers. You can have a discussion with somebody and tell somebody why, you can have a discussion on a topic and tell them why you have that view. And it is very impressive to see students in high school, the 10th through 12th grade years, get to this stage of learning where they're really sharing all of the knowledge that they've gained through those years, the understanding, and then they're applying that understanding. And to hear some of their papers and to listen to how some of them speak to adults and to their peers is really impressive. All right. Let's see, it will go in just a second. But the next, here we go. Am I blank enough to homeschool through high school? Now, I know some of us may not even be thinking high school yet, but it's kind of good to just let our minds go there for a minute. And for me, I definitely don't feel smart enough to homeschool through high school. But at this point, that is my goal, is to homeschool through high school. And we believe wrestling with truth promotes blessing and virtue for the whole community. The pursuit of truth requires self-denial, courage, and perseverance. No matter how you fill in the blank, your community will be there to help you as your student wrestles with hard ideas, words, and deeds. And Shannon, you could definitely speak more to that, since you have a rhetoric student in 10th grade and Gabe as well, and you'll be teaching some difficult things this year as they get into high school. So
Sure.
yeah, if you have anything to share about that.
Well, just, I will say this, going along with what this slide just said, I was really concerned about, being able to teach all the way through high school, and I didn't feel as well equipped as I needed to. But what I've come to find out over the years is that I'm learning right along with them. And really and truly, I've learned how to learn, which is really exciting because you kind of regain your own education. Can you pause that, honey? You regain your own education. I mean, there were things about English grammar, and I taught essentials for a few years, and I'm just serious. You just learn, and you're like, how did I not hear all this? So I've learned how to write. I've learned how to, to articulate things better than I used to. I'm got more confidence. And so by the time I'm done teaching my kids, I think I'll be ready to get a real job. So yes. So yeah. But speaking to the dialectic, sorry, I got off track, but yes, my older son is in high school, and what you wanting to do is equip your learner to be able to think on their own and to work independently. And I have one son that's in Algebra 2 this year, and he's doing Lit this year, and they're counting as college credits this year, which is really exciting. And he's initiating those things, and I'm really proud of him. But that took a lot of years of, him being in that dialectic stage. And now he's at a place where I don't have to hover over him and say, what, you need to do this and you need to do that. And now he can do those things himself. So anyway.
Absolutely. And just as a picture, I really like this as a visual for the 3 stages of learning for the classical education. If you can visualize a big oak tree, and the roots are down there. You don't necessarily see the roots, but the roots would be the grammar stage. The roots of that tree are going to be all those memorizing and reciting facts that we do as a classical educator, that we teach our children. Those are the pegs that you kind of hang all of this other knowledge on as they grow older. So if you can think of the roots of the tree to be all of those facts, that grammar stage that they're memorizing all these things on. Then the trunk of the tree is really the dialectic stage, and the branches, maybe all of the bark and all that stuff. That is the dialectic stage where they're just asking a bunch of questions. They're trying to figure things out. They're making those connections. Oh, that's why that does that, and that really just starts growing that tree. And then where they really flourish and where you see all of the results and where you see a lot of just the amazing beauty of education is in that rhetoric stage. It's kind of like all of this work goes towards growing and flourishing in this tree where they can really, they know the facts, they've made the connections, and now they're able to, speak eloquently, and they can write persuasively, and they can have a discussion with an adult, and they can get into the conversations of the real world, where I think now more than ever, our children need to be educated in order to have those hard conversations and to be who God's called them to be. So anyways, I just like that visual in my head. That makes me understand it a little bit better. Okay, so the next page, let's see, is, will classical conversations prepare my child to be successful? Whoop, I think I went, yeah. We believe classical education prepares us to accept the responsibilities of Christian freedom. We examine the words, thoughts, and actions of the past and present, of Christians and non-Christians, of neighboring and distant cultures, in order to stand like Paul and be all things to all people, ready with an answer for the hope within us. And like I just said, for me and my personal convictions were, I've got to raise up adults. My children will be adults one day, and I've got to raise them in the admonition of the Lord. I have to train them up. And for me, this was the best fit for me to do that. This was the best fit for me to see my child be successful in what I felt like God wanted me to focus on. So I have been in CC for 4 years. We completed our 4th year this past semester. And I can say that I really believe that my children are growing in their strengths. They're learning in their weaknesses. They are learning how to get along with people that aren't like them. They're learning how to encourage and motivate and help and support other people. And they're learning a ton about just like this said, past and present, Christian, non-Christian, local and distant cultures that help bring them into that mindset that's not so narrow-minded. And I'm really, really loving it, especially Josiah going into 8th grade. He has shown tremendous growth this past year, and I'm really looking forward to what that looks like next year. Okay, we're almost done. And then I just have a couple other things, but just to give you a vision or a snapshot of the big picture, and then I'd like to kind of break it down a little bit. So this is some statistics of Classical Conversations students. And so you see here that 95% of parents reported their teens' Christian faith was strong. 92% of graduates plan to attend college. 89% of graduates reported that their teenage faith in Christ was strengthened by attending CC. And then you can see their SAT scores, the ACT scores, the averages and combined SAT scores. You can see a list of all of the majors that they were intended in this study that they did. And then also 98% of graduates rated the quality of Classical Conversations academic programs as better than their homeschooling programs than other homeschooling programs they had experienced. And then you can also see at the bottom a list of colleges that has been attended by CC students. And I will say really quick, this just came out. If you are a graduate of college, CC actually offers for parents to earn their master's degree education while homeschooling their children with our program, with just teaching your children, which I thought was pretty remarkable. The other thing I would like to just plug in here for high school students beginning in 10th grade, 10th, 11th, and 12th, your student, if in Classical Conversations, would have the opportunity to dual enroll in college, online college classes, and earn college credits beginning in 10th grade. And I have a friend who just enrolled her 10th grader into 2 college courses, and it is literally just what she's doing in high school. So she's not having to, it's not like additional things. This college class is actually what she's learning in 10th grade with Classical Conversations. So it's amazing what they're able to offer and help families when it comes to really strengthening their education and really setting them up for success once they graduate high school. Okay, so is there any questions about the big picture? I'm going to stop my screen share. Does anybody have any questions about, I know that was a ton of information. As Shannon has put it in one of our classes before, it's kind of like drinking from a fire hose of information, from preschool to 12th grade. But I feel like that was a really great foundation in order to understand classical education and also Classical Conversations.
How old are your kids?
My son will be in 1st grade. He's 6. Just have one.
Nathan will be 6th grade, but middle school. So not sure what that's going to look like this year. I'm kind of wondering if I could put in the Classical Conversations in between what they're going to give me for school, because what they're going to give me for school is not going to be, it's not going to be substantial enough at the level where he is, I don't think. We'll see. This is kind of what I was thinking of, is because I know a lot of people do Classical Conversations and then you supplement the things that Classical Conversations either doesn't do, or you want to just increase it more. So I was thinking with Nathan to just do the Classical Conversations, just that one piece, not supplement, use the school as a supplementary thing. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if that's even something that would work. It was just I thought of it when I saw the post. I was like, might be able to do that. Plus that one day a week, the community day, I think would be good too. if you guys are still having that with COVID and stuff. So that's kind of what I was thinking of, but he's 12 entering 6th grade, but not 6th grade, more like 4th grade or 3rd grade. So, and that's the other part of where do we start? Do we start at that level? Do we wait? Do we go back? So kind of not sure which way to go either way with that. It's just a thought. It could supplement some other, what I'm thinking is it can maybe trigger other things as we go, and then, you know, use the schooling that he's going to get from the public school as well, since we're already going to be home anyway because of COVID. So that's kind of what I was thinking. I don't even know if that's doable. So something that somebody would do this and then use the school in that sense. Is it something that has anybody ever done?
Well, I know when I first started CC,
Oh, hold on. Sorry, go ahead.
that's okay. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. When I first started CC, Ginger Fowler, a lady who's been doing it for a really long time, when she started CC, she thought it was just to do in addition to what she was already doing. And she said she did that for a year, and she said it like almost killed her. She was like, I don't understand, how do people do this? But CC really is a standalone program. It is definitely thorough enough to not have to do any other supplemental education outside of math. You do have to add in math and language arts.
Okay.
So CC is totally enough for an entire school year, but you just need to add math and language arts. So I'm not sure what that would look like, because, you know, I guess it would just depend on what you wanted him to focus on and how you wanted it to look like for him.
Right.
And then as far as, you know, where do you put him in? Our classes are by age, and they're like, it's a, you know, like a 2-year period or so for our classes. And so he would be put in like right around his age group, or even the age group right beneath his age group, kind of where he would fit in best. And he would fit in right along with that group. And we all learn the same things. So whether you're a 4-year-old or a 12-year-old, we're all going to be doing the same things. Just the older classes might be, you know, maybe listening into that information a little bit closer, or the tutor might explain it a little bit more, or, you know, that week when they go home, they might be researching that subject deeper than what a 4-year-old obviously would. You know, you might assign him as a teacher, you might say, okay, well, we talked about the War of 1812 this week, so let's go find some information, more information on the War of 1812. Let's write a little paragraph about it, or let's, you know, just discover more about it. Whereas the 4-year-old would just be consuming that data, consuming that information, and learning the facts. So it'd definitely be something that we could talk through and, you know, come up with some ideas, and kind of see how that would look for your family.
How long would a day be? Like just an average day for those who have done it?
Mm-hmm.
I know the community day is a certain time frame, but past that, like how long is a day?
So it's just going to depend on your family dynamic and the age of your students and what all you want to do. I can tell you that I believe the state of Georgia requires you to have 4 hours. Is that right, Shannon? 4 hours, you know, Monday through Friday. And that's kind of the parameters that you want to kind of look at. But I'll tell you, in our home, sometimes it's only 3, you know, that we're doing all of the things and memorizing and reviewing and playing games and learning, you know, more in depth of what we just went over on Tuesdays, which is our community day. And then of course on community day, it's 9, we begin assembly at 9:15, and we start our day at 9:30 and we end at 12. So it's, you know, 9:30 to 12 is all of your learning. And then we have a community lunch time from 12 to 1. And that's our foundations program, which is ages 4 through 12 or 4 through 6th grade.
Okay. I'll have to see. I wouldn't withdraw him But if you were to do something like this would be considered homeschooling, so I couldn't do both. Could I?
You mean do CC and do the digital learning? Yeah, I mean, it would be like doing 2 schools.
Right, but I say that with the understanding that his schooling will not look like the typical 6th grader students. He's in alternative education at this point. So
Right.
the schooling will not be a typical 6th grader day.
Right.
They'll be putting a lot of different things in it that technically probably would not require 4 hours worth of work,
Right.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in addition to foundations, they also have an essentials program in the afternoon, which is a lot of fun. It's a writing program where they do writing. Then they do a little bit of math, which is basically math facts and fun ways to get them memorizing their multiplication tables if they haven't mastered them. And then just playing games with mental math as well. And then the final part of the day is, well, first part I did essentials, which is the English grammar portion. So you're teaching nouns, verbs, pronouns, adverbs, adjectives, and having a fun time making sentences. It's a lot of fun. And if you do that, your son is going to have a very, very wonderful balance for, you know, I used to be so concerned that there was going to be missing links, or there's going to be holes, or, you know, they wouldn't get something that they needed. As a school teacher, that was my biggest concern. But I found that if you just stick with the program and do the things that you're supposed to be doing, your child's going to succeed. And I'm just telling you, and I'm not trying to brag on my kids or anything, but, you know, they've been testing. Sean just tested this year all post high school, and he's only in 10th grade. And this year, like she was talking about the CC Plus classes, he's taking college algebra 2, and he's also taking British literature. And as he's taking the assignments with CC, he's getting full college course credit for that. So that's going to help him to probably get the first year of college down before he even gets done with high school. So if you follow the program, it works, and it's really beautiful. It does take a lot of repetition at home, because you're basically, like she was talking about, you've got grammar and you're putting the pegs in, and then as they become dialectic, you're hanging more and more information on those pegs. And by the time they become, you know, able to have good rhetoric skills, they're able to use everything that you placed on those pegs at their own disposal. It's amazing. And they can teach. So, oh, and I'll say this too. This is the first year my son is actually taking Spanish. He's had 3 years of Latin, and he's doing great in Spanish. And I do believe it's because of that foundational Latin, because a lot of people ask about the Latin, but it's a wonderful thing. It really does help substantially.
Yeah.
I have a few questions. I don't know if you're done.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. This would be my first year. I just withdrew my son from public school today. So it's my first year, and I'm still kind of learning about homeschooling. So I'm trying to understand like your format. So you've mentioned tutors and classes. So can you expand on that a little bit more, so that am I teaching him, or are there tutors?
Yes.
Or all of the above?
Yeah. Okay, great question. So what CC looks like is, for that grammar stage that we were talking about, the memorizing and the reciting, that's our foundations program. So in foundations, we have a community day, which meets once a week. And for that foundations time, it's 9:30 to 12. And during that time, your student with you, you're always with your student. So that's one thing that's different, is you'll be in class with Phoenix. So if you sign up and you're coming, so you'll come to foundations and you'll be in a class with Phoenix. So that'll be his age kids and students. And our max class is 8 students. So it won't be any more than 8 students in each class. And in that class, there will be a tutor. And we call them a tutor because as homeschooling parents, we are the teachers. So as the mom, I'm actually the teacher, but the tutor is going to present all the new material for that week. And so what we do at Community Day, we're presenting all of this new material with each of our subjects. And she does that for you in a way that models for you some ideas and ways that you can do it at home. So really, as a mom in the classroom, you're also a student of the information, and you're learning what they're doing, how they're doing it, so that when you go home, you know exactly where to pick up with Phoenix on memorizing it for the rest of the week. And then adding in your math and your language arts program, reading program, or whatever. So there's a portion where your tutor will offer all the new information. Then we also have 30 minutes where we do fine arts. And so we do those in quarters. And so for the first quarter, we're doing art and drawing skills. So we're learning how to draw and what shapes are in drawing, and all those things with some fun projects for those 30-minute increments for the first 6 weeks. The second 6 weeks is orchestra, or I think it's called orchestra, but we're learning tin whistle. And so they learn an instrument, and they learn the notes, and they learn what each note stands for and the rhythms and things like that. And then the third 6 weeks, we do great artists. And so we recreate artwork from great artists, names like Da Vinci and Van Gogh and people like that who you would recognize. And so we get to do a really fun art projects those 6 weeks. And then the last 6 weeks, we do great composers. And so we'll listen to classical music, and we'll pick out certain things, and they'll get to draw or color or whatever during that piece that we're listening to. So we have the 30 minutes of fine arts, and we have 30 minutes of science, where we do a lab project every week. And so each week we're going to be doing things. This year we'll be doing things that have to do with our body, and we're going to do a whole body, and we'll label everything in our body and learn the different body parts that are inside. And we'll learn, how our lungs breathe in. And so it'll be really fun projects that we do as our science lab time for 30 minutes every week. Let's see, I'm missing something. Hang on one second. What am I missing, Shannon?
Well, you were asking kind of like what it looks like at home. So you've got this, when the tutor walks in, she's going to have grammar for math, science, Latin, history, in each of those subject areas, missing English grammar. And they're going to be learning something really wonderful that week about, like, let's just say they're going to be learning their prepositions or something. And so you're going to be learning a preposition song. So you're going to say, okay, everyone, 7 times, here we go. And we're going to start aboard, about, above, across, after, against, along, amid, among, around, at. That's done. All right, let's try it this way. And you're going to do it a different way. And the tutor will engage with the kids and do all kinds of funny things. And all of the grammar for every single one of those strands, by the time you've done it 7 times, your child will have it memorized. And as a teacher, I was so frustrated because I would have kids that you would think, you should know this. Like, why am I having to tell you this? But the way CC is working is that your children will be internalizing the concepts to where if I said, what is a noun? Your child can say, oh, it's a person, place, thing, activity, or idea. And if I said, the cat ran down the road, and I said, well, where's the noun? They could say, cat is the subject noun, road is the object of the preposition. And they're able to make those deductions because they've learned the parts of speech. So I think sometimes as moms, we're like, oh my goodness, that's a lot of information. But it's little teeny tiny baby steps all along the way until all of a sudden one day you wake up and you're like, 176 points on a timeline. And you're teaching them something in 6th grade and they remember, oh, Beethoven wrote his 5th symphony during this time or whatever, because they are making connections based on all the different strands that they've been memorizing. So that's the key. That's the beauty of it. So, okay.
Good. That's great.
Yes.
What
So,
about history?
history?
Is that a part of all of it? The grammar?
Yes.
Okay.
It is. So we go over We go over math, although we just go over the multiplication tables. We go over laws in math. We don't go over how to do a concept of math. And that's where you, having your own math curriculum at home, will teach, your student how, to go through those things. But we do include it in our memory work. We also include Latin, science, English, a timeline, which is from creation to today of major current events that happened throughout history. Then we also have history and geography. So each week we'll learn a history sentence and a location on the map. This year, our focus is on US history. So that will be mainly the United States, states and capitals, and landmarks and rivers and things like that. And then we also learn a passage of scripture throughout the year. And this year it'll be John 1:1-7, I think it is.
And does the curriculum come with like lesson plans or like some type of plan weekly?
Yes. So you would buy I have it right here. It's called a Foundations Guide. And that is your curriculum. And it's what we all have. And it looks just like this. So this is a week, and it gives you math and Latin, science, timeline, English, history, geography, and it also tells you what we're going to be doing in fine arts and science. And then our presentation, we also do presentations with each student every week as well to help get them in the habit of public speaking in front of their peers. And so you will get this book, and it has everything in it. So we're all doing the exact same thing. And it's called the Foundations Guide. And it even gives you like a scope and sequence of the year, like a snapshot of the year, what we're going to be learning all year long.
Okay.
And what I was going to say, going with what you just said, so you have a first grader, right? So when your child's in first grade, they're going to go through the cycle 3. Are we on cycle 3? I have no idea because I'm in challenge. Okay, so cycle 3, they're going to get all their wonderful information about American history. And then they come back in cycle 1 and they do ancient history. And then they come back the next cycle and they do medieval history. But then they come back again. So now your child is in 5th grade and they're doing American history again. But this time they've got that foundational grammar down perfect. Now you can add on to that. And by that time they're in essentials and they're doing some other things with writing, which is wonderful. I didn't mention this, but the way the writing program works too is we do American history, and our writing corresponds with our history the history that we're doing for foundations. So we'll be writing about American Lit, and then the next year we do ancient history, and they're writing stories about all ancient history, and then we're doing medieval history. And then we do this really cool thing called Faces of History, where the kids can dress up as a character and they write this wonderful paper and then they do a speech. So there's so much to it. I mean, this is like a tip of the iceberg. It's hard to say everything in one thing.
Great.
Just real fast on the cycles, I did want to expound on that a little bit. With Classical Conversations, they do have 3 cycles, like Shannon was saying, 1, 2, and 3. Ancient history is 1, number 2 is medieval history, and then 3rd is US history. And it doesn't matter what cycle you come in on, they all repeat each other, and it doesn't make a difference of what grade or anything like that. So when I first came in, we started on cycle 3, and I was like, well, wait, do I have to wait till cycle 1? And so I was really confused with that, but you don't. It's just, I don't know, it's just a way that they label the time periods that we're studying and focusing on each year.
So are there several cycles within the year, or is it 1 cycle per year?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
But the math part is always the same, and the history timeline is always the same. So fundamentally, you've got this core stuff that they're getting. I mean, they're memorizing their multiplication tables, learning how to skip count, which I thought, why skip counting? But eventually your child will transition from skip counting and to really getting the multiplication. They do 15 times 15. I mean, if you say 225, my kids should know, what it is, you know, and you end up as a parent, you're like, oh, now I know it. So it's a constant growth.
Very good. Thank you. I want to just make sure that I'm clear on this. So the meetings, I know you mentioned it, but it's daily or once a week?
Once a week.
One week you come together with your tutor and your class,
Yes.
and then you just kind of follow up with the rest of okay, got it.
Yeah.
So at home, and this might help a little bit, at home, you're going to be duplicating what you do at CC in a real simplistic form. So you'll be going over each strand of grammar at home and repeating the grammar 7 times for each one of those subjects. So let me just tell you, your child will know that information. They'll have fun doing it. If you're having fun, they'll have fun. If you are not having fun, they won't have fun. So I would just make it fun. But I mean, there's tons of songs on CC Connected, and there's tons of different ways. Your tutors will show you all these fun different ways of making it exciting to do it.
And the locations for these classes, are they?
So there's a lot of different communities all over Metro Atlanta area and worldwide, honestly. Like I do the one in Douglasville at Praise Mill Baptist Church on Tuesdays. And so each community is different. They may, there's a Thursday group at the same location that I'm at. And so some might meet on Mondays or on Wednesdays. And so each community is different, but we have, you know, if you want one closest to you, we can get you in touch with the director of those communities that you might be looking in, you know, where you live close by.
And what do you teach? What grades are with you?
So it's the whole program. So it's
Okay.
Foundations and Essentials. So it's 4 years old through 6th grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, Ms. Redding, for Nathan, you know, there are homeschool programs like Teaching Textbook. You said he's in 3rd grade. It's a great program, and it's math, but it's done, you know, online. And so that would give you more flexibility than having to check in with the public school system. I feel like if you were to do the whole public school package, then you probably are going to be having to do a lot, and he's going to have a lot of accountability for a lot of different things. But like she said, he needs a good math program, and he needs a very solid phonics writing. He does essentials. It'll be his first year, you know, if he does essentials. And it may seem a lot for a little tiny bit, but you know, it's not as scary as it seems. First 3 weeks seem like a lot, but then it scales back and it's not too bad.
Okay, does anyone else have any other questions? I'm going to just look over my notes real quick while y'all are thinking.
Can you tell me the price?
Yes, so tuition is $335 for the year. That includes our 24 community weeks, our community days. So we meet 24 times out of the school year. And there's also a registration fee, and that's $145. And then depending on which community that you might want to join, there is a supply fee for all of the art and science supplies, and a facility fee for insurance to cover our group on a facility. And like for my group, the supply fee is $60 for each student, and the facility fee is $25 at my location.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, I don't really have anything else. I mean, I've got like, you know, some specific answers to some specific questions, but I'm not going to go through those if y'all don't have those questions. So I hope I'm not missing anything. Like Shannon said, it is difficult to give like a really great idea of everything, you know, through Zoom and just by talking about it. I would like to email all of you ladies some resources. that you can look, and you can look more at the catalog that we were going through. I can send you the online catalog and then the websites and a couple of more specific things for your age children. And that way you can kind of delve into some more research when you have time. And then you can also get back with me with any other questions, or if you want to be connected with a director in your area or anything like that. Our group, we do have a few more spots available right now. We've got 4 classes, and I have the option of adding on another class. So we at our community do have spots still available. So we're still good taking on some students. And I will brag on Annabeth for a minute, my second child. She completed Memory Masters with our community this past year, and which means she memorized over 500 facts. And she could recite them. I mean, that's how powerful the memorization and recitation is in Classical Conversations. She was able to tell me everything that we learned this year in Classical Conversations. So that was really amazing.
Keep in mind, it's because she's hit that cycle before and come around that cycle again. Am I right?
Yes.
It was a repeated cycle. So it's building precept upon precept. And the thing that I love about the program so much, so let's say you're learning the periodic table. Well, my son going into B next year has to memorize pretty much the whole periodic table. So foundations people have already learned the first 20. They already know it. So it's like it's building on things. In other words, sometimes, and I'm not trying to criticize the public school, but sometimes, like if you're a biology teacher or a chemistry teacher, sorry, and you've got your periodic table, 3/4 of the class is like clueless when they walk in the door. And so you as a teacher have to say, okay, we're going to start from square one. Well, with CC, you're rest assured that your kids have got that foundation to when they get in that program, they're ready to go. And you don't have to reteach. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And that is because Lee Bortons, the creator of Classical Conversations, reverse engineered the program. When her students were in high school, the things she was doing and she wanted them to achieve, she was building a high school program for homeschoolers, and then realized they needed to have learned some things, back when they were kids, when they could memorize. So she really reverse engineered this program so that, like just what Shannon said, it is literally like clockwork. If you decided to stay and stick with the program through each of the programs as you continue to get older, you can see how they can just grab that information that they memorized and apply it to what we're learning now, as they get older. So it's really, really cool.
I have a question. When are you going to start? And are you starting with the whole with the whole social distancing? Are you guys doing that, or is it on Zoom?
So we are starting in person, and for my community, our orientation is August 4th, and our first community day is August 11th. And we're beginning in person. However, the things that we are taking into that we're going to put in place are temperature checks at the door. And we're also going to have you sign in, basically stating that, you've been fever free for the last 24 hours and you're happy to be at Community Day. And then we're going to ask everyone to wash their hands as soon as they get there. And then that way, that will be our levels of defense against germs. And in the classrooms, we're sanitizing the classrooms before and after each class.
And I'm telling my class too, if they want to wear masks, they're welcome to. We're not going to make that mandatory, but for people that want to do that, we're totally fine with that.
Yes. So that is the plan right now. Because we're not a school, we don't have to abide by Douglas County school regulations because we're just a community that comes together. However, if the governor were to put anything in place, then of course we will fall under that authority and submit to whatever, he puts in place for the state. Well, if y'all could either text me or in the chat here, give me your email address, and I will today follow up with an email with these resources, and then you guys could process everything and then let me know if y'all have any questions. You know, even if CC is not the best fit for your family, I would love to help support you guys in any way through, you know, any other type of homeschooling that you might want to look into. We may have resources to help get you connected with the right people. So just keep that in mind. You know, even if it's not for everybody, we want to help support homeschoolers, and especially right now. So just let me know.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you ladies so much. Thank you, Shannon, for being on here. I appreciate your help.
You're so welcome. All right.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye. Thank you.